Hello and welcome to the Brothers Random Show. My name is Travis.
I'm Michael.
And we are two ordinary brothers discussing extraordinary ideas and some random shit. So the topics on this show range from theology, masculinity, stories, movies, philosophy, books, pop culture, and many other subjects. We often talk about the people we admire and the wisdom they share. People such as Dr. Jordan B. Peterson, who we believe is the sage of our time. Michael, why are we here?
Today we are discussing what we would say is the decline of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the MCU. And, you know, the case in point being the Marvels, which just came out. Now, we're pretty early in the weekend that the Marvels came out, but still, Friday and Saturday, it's not looking good for the box office weekend of the Marvels.
And we don't plan on seeing this movie because it looks terrible.
Boycott.
Yeah,
I'm voting with my dollar and not seeing it. But
not seeing it. Yeah.
That being said, everything is pointing to it just not being good.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know about you, but let's talk a little bit about our affinity for it. So in 2008, Iron Man comes out and blows up Marvel, and it just becomes a massive hit. It's the same year the best comic book movie of all time came out, which was The Dark Knight with Christian Bale and Heath Ledger. But anyway, we're not here to talk about the best. But the DC Iron Man, like the movies for me have been up and down, but probably the pinnacle would be Civil War. That movie is excellent. Like, and Captain America was really good. The first Captain America. I
loved Endgame. Like I was a huge fan.
Good. Yes.
I know there's been online some people have said that it had its flaws, but I kind of strapped in and I was good for it for Endgame. Infinity War, the fact that in Infinity War they like lost, I think that's one thing with media nowadays is just that the stakes
aren't high.
It just never really seems like the stakes are high, right?
Well, like your heroes are gonna live or come back or whatever.
Yeah, it's always
there's already
they did do in Endgame.
Yeah.
But you had it's kind of like Star Trek when spoiler, in the Wrath of Khan that Spock dies
and then comes back later.
Then years later so you don't know he comes back until way later.
The next movie,
Empire Strikes Back. Han Solo is gone, right? He's frozen in carbonite and he's gone, right? They lose, and so the Infinity War, they lose half of every living thing, blah blah blah, all dies, and then Endgame comes back and it's a really great. I really loved how Endgame ended, and I felt like that was the end, which is why for Phase 4, I was like, all right,
it's
cool,
over.
Guys,
it's over. Robert Downey Jr.'s out, and here we are. And the thing is that these movies, they have declined in quality ever since. Like just, and there's a few gems in between, such as Spider-Man No Way Home. That was excellent, very well executed. And then there's the Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Not probably the best of them, but good.
It was okay.
Good ending and not everything, but now we're kind of getting dealt this shit sandwich. I didn't like Black Widow. I didn't like Shang-Chi. I didn't like the Eternals. I think the Eternals was kind of what ended it for me. It's like, Spider-Man No Way Home came out, like a month later than the
Talk
Eternals.
about how much they lost on the Eternals. Eternals.
So okay, so the Eternals, the numbers this is according to thenumbers.com. So take this for whatever, for whatever it's worth. But basically the Eternals, the cost of that movie was 200 million. Domestically, they made 164 million off of that movie. And then worldwide,
so almost 40 million, they just out the bat,
yeah,
40 million lost.
And
If you think about those numbers, geez, like,
and that they're like this kind of every movie afterwards, other than Spider-Man No Way Home. So Doctor Strange is the same way, 200 million to make, 187 million domestic. It made
now
better.
that's domestic, so it could have made.
No, it's according
this is all
to
domestic.
worldwide.
So worldwide, they might have made their money back.
Yeah, they're making their money back, but so Doctor Strange and the in the Multiverse of Madness, that one actually worldwide was 950 million worldwide.
Okay, so it probably made its money back.
Well, but the Eternals,
I hear that the number thrown out, if you make a $200 million movie,
it's actually costs 100 million more than what if you make a 200 million movie, it's most likely a 300 million movie, because they have to do prints and advertising. They got to send the actors around to promote the movie,
promote it. Yeah.
So promotion is probably at this point $100 million endeavor, if maybe 80,
give or take.
Give or take.
Now, so they say that a $200 million film probably needs to make close to $1 billion to
like pay everybody
to pay
well,
to do well.
Yeah.
So Doctor Strange got close to that, so that they probably were good.
But the Eternals, their worldwide box office, get this, is 400 million. That was it.
Right.
And it's a decline. It's obviously a decline in quality, because when you watch the Eternals, you're just going, this is so overdone. It's full of people that we don't really care about. They're trying to create this other world that nobody, like, the villains don't matter. The CGI is bad. It just, it wasn't good. It wasn't well done. And they decline in quality ever since the Eternals, probably ever since Black Widow, if we're being honest. So we got Black Widow that doesn't actually go to ing theaters. It comes out during COVID, so it goes straight to streaming. And then there's Shang-Chi, which does terrible. Then there's the Eternals. Shang-Chi is okay. It's entertaining, but the whole time during that movie, I mean, I'm watching stuff happen and I'm just going, I don't care.
Not invested in these.
I'm not invested in any of these characters. And it had its moments. There's a lot of cool kung fu and stuff like that in it, but and then No Way Home kind of re-energizes the whole thing, and it makes over $1 billion worldwide. It damn near 2 billion worldwide.
Nice. So it did well. Yeah,
it did really well. And if you admit to yourself, that's actually a really good movie, because it has, I don't want to give anything away, but it's actually a good movie. It has all the emotional beats that you want. They've done the work leading up to us really liking these characters, right?
Yeah.
So they've done all the groundwork. Where Shang-Chi, they're asking you to care about these characters, and they just introduced them. Some of them are kind of unlikable, and the guy in it is always kind of on the butt end of every joke, and so it just kind of comes across like it's not a genuine. And then there's Wakanda Forever that did some pretty terrible. I mean, worldwide it got close to $1 billion, so maybe, but domestically it didn't do too well. Ant-Man and the Wasp did terrible. It would cost $200 million to make, and domestically it made $106 million according to this website.
And then worldwide, does it say?
And worldwide was 460. So it's not.
Gosh, it makes you wonder if they're just making enough that they're not going to learn their lesson.
That they're not. They're
going to
learn their lesson.
Putting these out.
Yeah.
And that's no.
So,
I seriously was hoping that the Marvels would tank, and then they would just stop. They would just like, you know what? We're going to put this on the shelf.
Regroup, put this on the shelf.
Let's not do any more Marvels. We'll focus somewhere else.
So the Guardians, let's just say the Guardians is another shining light in it. It cost $250 million to make, and worldwide it made $845 million. However, domestically, it only made looks like domestically it made back its money. It's $358 million. Yeah. So who knows?
And it wasn't horrible. So
yeah,
that's
it was
not bad. But gosh,
well, and they had laid the tracks for a good movie. These characters that we like. Yeah, everybody loves Drax. Everybody loves Mantis. Everybody loves Peter Quill,
Rocket.
And Rocket. So they really they end up liking these characters. And then they've laid all this track. And so like the third or fourth or fifth movie does pretty well because that's what they've done. But the new ones that they've introduced, people don't really like them. Like the new stuff, like Shang-Chi. Like I don't care about. I mean, it was a missed opportunity in my mind. And so the newest one, it's the opening weekend, so we don't know the final numbers, but it only made 21 million opening weekend, which is not good. I mean, that's for a movie that costs 200 plus to make. It's not a
different numbers. So one place said it's 220 million to make. Another place was saying 274, which I wonder if they're including in that the latter number post-production advertising and things like that, possibly.
Well, here's the problem is that Disney doesn't actually tell you. I mean, they tell you the production budget, but they don't tell you how much they put into advertising. Right. And so I would guess that it's somewhere in the middle. It's probably 250 million if I had to guess. So
somewhere around there.
So anyway, the whole point of this is just to discuss the fact that this is dying. This is a dying brand, and we're seeing it in real time. So, so one of the signs, and this isn't my original idea. I think Critical Drinker actually said this. So, in the 60s, the Western was a big deal, right? They were pumping out Westerns right and left. Everybody was going to them to watch them, probably 50s into the 60s. But by the 70s, you get the parodies, right? You get Blazing Saddles. They're basically making fun of the genre at that point, and it kind of dies a slow death. Now, have there been good Westerns since then? Sure. But they weren't pumping. They're not pumping them out like they were pumping them out in the 60s and
left and right. Yep,
in the late 50s. So I think this is what's happening to the
superhero comic book.
Because
comic book universe,
and even though the Christopher Nolan Batman films were probably the pinnacle, you're talking about DC could never get their cinematic universe to work. They probably made a bunch of money off of like the Justice League and stuff like that, but they were trying too hard, too fast, and it kind of fell apart. And so they never. I don't really feel like they ever got off the ground with their stuff. They wanted what Marvel had, and they just didn't put the groundwork in to originally. And you
had a lot of movies before Avengers came out. Right. There were
several
movies before Avengers.
Yeah.
And so you really got to know a lot of these characters long before the Avengers came out, and I feel like they didn't really quite set that up for Justice League, because that Justice League was the third one, wasn't it? It
Yeah.
was Man of
Well,
Steel,
yeah, it was like Man of Steel, and then it was like Dawn of
Suicide.
Justice, and then I think
Okay,
Suicide Squad was in there somewhere, and then it was
yeah,
so it's like they just
it
didn't
there wasn't a
they
lot of groundwork set up. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
but
And all those productions are fraught with problems, and so
mm-hmm.
and you can kind of see it in the movies, you know.
And I
But
heard that the Marvels had that too. That it's seemed like there was a lot
oh, it's that
lost in
movie.
editing.
Yeah, that movie is, according to everything that I've read or heard online, is cut up to death, because
Mm-hmm.
they were going to go in one direction, they changed in the middle of the production, and then they go a different direction, and then you get this kind of mishmash of both, and it's
Yeah,
just a messy movie.
yeah,
And you know, you know, if we were to compare it to the Guardians of the Galaxy was directed and written by the same guy, all three of them. So
mm,
he had a vision. He was going in the same direction as,
yeah.
you know, the Marvels is directed by a newer director who probably doesn't have a lot of track record. It was written by a committee. It was written by like the writing credits on that movie is long.
Hmm. Interesting.
So, and it shows, right? And there's a lot of I think there the politics of, I guess, intersectionality has come into the Marvel universe, and we might be able to lay it at the feet of woke if we were
Yeah,
really.
and
And I
I
don't want to
mean, a
get
lot
too
of
far
guys
into
said that
that.
didn't have a lot of, like, they didn't push the envelope on the wokeness in this film.
Well, because I
It's
think they cut it out
Yeah,
because
they
they are
that was what I
real.
was about to say. I bet you anything they had it in there strong and hard, and then
Mm-hmm.
they cut it out
and they
because
were like,
they
oh,
wanted to be a little less hard-handed, and it probably just left for a pretty
well,
big
for like
mess.
an unfocused film, right?
Yeah,
And that's why it's getting all this you know, hate, because it's not well put together, you know.
I hope that the lesson starts to be that just because we have enough money to just throw hundreds of millions of dollars at a film,
Yeah,
that we that money needs to go into making sure that something is actually really good
yeah,
and something that people will really want to watch and be invested in.
yeah.
That's my hope.
And
It's just that
I in the past I've used this argument for, okay, so if a film is written and directed by the same person, you're more likely to get a good film. If it's written by two people and directed by one of those people, you're probably going to get a good film. If it's written by three people, it's probably going to be or more. It's probably going to be terrible, because it
just too many
continuously,
heads,
there's
right?
too many cooks
Yeah.
in the kitchen, right?
Yeah.
And this movie's like written. I just looked it up. It's written by three different people. One of them's the director. The director's got very small movies to her credit, and I'm like, this big of a movie, you probably shouldn't give in to somebody who doesn't have a good track record. But I mean, I don't know if that argument works, because you know, as people who have good track records, they're always when they get too big for their britches, people aren't giving them aren't they don't they have just yes men around them, and so they
And then they get terrible.
inevitably produce terrible movies. I think there's few exceptions to
Yeah.
that. I you know, but
And they took a gamble with Christopher Nolan. He only had, when he did Batman Begins, he only had 3 movies? He had
like 3 movies
Memento.
to his credit. And Memento is a pretty damn good movie. So I mean, just watching that probably would have given them the confidence.
But he had just a few. He didn't have a huge track record either. So I mean, it's tough to tell. Like I don't know. You don't know. But
well, a lot of it I think is the politics that play. If your character, if you create a character, if you bring a character into a movie that is, because of her sex, cannot be flawed and doesn't have any growth as a character. This was the problem with the first Marvel or Captain Marvel movie.
Mm-hmm.
You see this character that has no flaws, and basically it's all about her overcoming the obstacles in her way, which we like that, but we also like complex characters. And so they didn't lay the proper groundwork for this movie. But there is hope, because so for anybody who doesn't know, recently there was a news hit that the Daredevil TV series that was supposed to be revamping Daredevil, they had like 8 episodes and like $200 million forked into this, and a couple of people just shut it down. They were like, this isn't good enough. Not for this character, not for this. So I don't know what that says. Maybe,
which I'm glad, because I love the Netflix Marvel.
Yeah, that Daredevil. Movie, that Daredevil, that show is so good. It's right up there with the Christopher Nolan Batman movies. It's really, really, really
good. And I knew if they revamped it or whatever, it was going to be horrible. Like you just know.
Well,
know
it just feels horrible. It feels like everything's kind of horrible. I mean, I never watched the new Indiana Jones because it looked terrible. So the problems that they're faced with are we've taken politics to our films, and people don't like this politics anymore. I think it could be laid at the feet of woke, pretty much.
No problem at all, Mrs. Kennedy.
We were just discussing ideas of what to do with the new Prince Eric movie.
Put a chick in it, make her gay.
Yes, Miss Kennedy. Some of the execs are just expressing that maybe...
Well, that maybe we should go a different route than we did with Indiana Jones.
Fuck Indiana Jones, put a chick in it and make her name it gay.
Linguine and clam sauce.
Excuse me, I believe I asked you to put a chick in this and make her gay.
Yes, the chef was a little confused what you meant by that.
It means put a chick in the linguine and make her fucking gay. And I want it lame.
Mm-hmm. I think it's more just bad storytelling. It could be. Definitely part of it is probably the woke stuff getting in, but I'm okay. It's a weird thing. Like, if it's a good story and it's got some woke in it, I kind of, and I use this, Critical Drinker uses this example a lot, and that's our Arcane.
The Netflix show.
Netflix Arcane, yeah. It's kind of a rendition of the League of
Shadows.
Shadows, is it? The League of It's a video game. I don't know the video game, and I haven't played it, but anyway, the girl is the main character, and she's strong and
but she's also,
and she's lesbian.
And she's also got like all these flaws as well.
Yes. Yeah. And it still was a great show because it was interesting, and the characters were interesting, and the plot was interesting and good. And so you can get it in if you want to. Just make it, just entertain us. Are you not entertained?
Yeah.
Isn't that why you were here?
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Is this not why you were here?
So I mean it.
Right.
So it is. I think we are seeing the death of the Marvel brand. Because like we just went through, I've seen all of them. I didn't bother seeing Thor: Love and Thunder. I didn't bother seeing the Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. You know, if
The hope is that this will be the nail in the coffin.
or
Fingers
maybe
crossed.
a course correction. Maybe they'll be like, okay,
Yeah.
this is so bad that we should have just not released it. You know, that's the thing, is like after they've spent $250 million, they're kind of obligated to release it. Well, and this is what happened with Batgirl film. So there was a Batgirl film that was shot. I think their budget was like 60 million. It was a lower budget, but it ticked all the terrible boxes, right? It was not well done. Some executive finally saw it and was like, we are not releasing this movie. And Warner Brothers just put the kibosh on it. Was like, nope, we're not releasing this.
And they took it as they wrote it off as a
tax write-off or something. Yeah, as a loss.
Yeah, tax write-off for a loss. Like sometimes you just got to take your losses and just try
not
to.
Well, and so, it supposedly was bad enough. Like the rumor is online, it was bad enough that it would have tarnished the legacy of Batman. And that's got to be pretty bad because Batman's had some pretty bad movies.
Yeah.
Right. But I mean, I guess
Batman and Robin. Anyone?
Yeah. Anyone? Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah. That was a bad movie. So
do you think this puts, if it continues like this, and you were telling me that last quarter, Disney lost $1 billion, is that?
It might be the year. It might not be the quarter, but that is accurate. So it's I think over the year, they have lost $1 billion. So basically they've had a string of flops, and I don't know how far. It's a huge company. It's an expensive company, but how far can you go where you keep having flops?
Start. Yeah.
You know, Lightyear was a flop. Strange Worlds was a flop. Turning Red was probably a flop. I'm not 100% on that. And Indiana Jones was a flop. Ant-Man, the latest Ant-Man movie, was a flop. So they have consecutively had flops for a while. And I don't know how long you can go. So the rumor is that Indiana Jones was a $350 million movie to make.
And what did it end up making? Do you remember?
I don't know the numbers, but I'll look it up. I can't imagine like a $350 million movie. You have to make a lot of money in order for that to be a success. Like it should have made probably close to 2 billion. Should have made like a 1,900,000,000 probably to be a success. But I don't think it did.
Domestic was 174 million. Worldwide, 383 million.
Wow.
So maybe it made back its money.
Yeah, but it didn't make anybody rich.
Maybe.
So how long can they go where they just
keep putting out duds? Well, and this, they may sell. Like it makes you wonder if Apple will buy Marvel.
We'll see.
Or
the weird thing is that Apple's gotten into the entertainment business, but it's not a company that's known for its entertainment. It's a company that's known for its product.
Well, and sometimes the way to get your name out there and being known as for entertainment would be to buy something that's known, right? Like that's a strategy.
Yeah, that's a strategy. Yeah.
Not possibly, and maybe even the timing would be right, because if they did buy something that has been on a downward spiral, like they'd have a lot of opportunity to fix that. to turn that around and be back up on the way up.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just a thought. I don't know if they'd sell like Lucasfilm as well.
They may just start selling off like piece by piece
pieces.
Their assets.
That's what I was thinking. We might start seeing Disney start selling pieces off. That
and rather than learn their lesson and just do better, there was a time where everything they produced was a hit. Everything. Everything Pixar was a hit. Everything Marvel was a hit. Every Star Wars thing was a hit. I think a part of it is that that doing the TV shows is kind of cheapened the whole thing, because doing the TV shows might have been what
Disney Plus might have it might have started a spiral of cheap
as quick and put it out as quick as possible.
Quick and cheap entertainment.
Yeah. Well, and Disney, if you remember the Disney Channel, when they had to pretty much everything they had was cheap, other than maybe their animation, because Phineas and Ferb was a great show, but it was still cheap though. Like, it was all those guys that did that were probably doing that for pennies.
Basically pennies compared to the 200 plus millions that they're always throwing at a 2-hour film. 2.5 hour. Geez.
They keep getting longer and longer too. And they're not, what it is that the movies are longer, but it's like fast food, right? It's like, you're going to eat this burger that has no nutritional value at all, this burger from McDonald's. And it's the same thing with Marvel. It's like, we're going to pump this out and it's going to be a longer movie, but you're saying nothing. Like you're doing.
I did hear that the Marvels was under 2 hours, so at least they did that for us.
At least they did that. Maybe it's the pain won't be as excruciating if it's not as long of a movie. Anyway, but it's a sad state, I think.
So your Western theory, like that Critical Drinker talks about, we might start seeing the parody, and like we could still see 10 years from now, we might still see every once in a while a really good superhero movie.
Yeah.
Kind of like every once in a while since after the 70s, we've seen good Western movies.
But they're
Tombstone is just
came out in the 90s, so, and it's
awesome. And so we might start seeing this where, yes, every once in a while they will do a good superhero movie. Go away as the
dominant force.
Everything. Because so far we've been inundated with superhero stuff
for 20 years.
It's been a good ride, guys. Yeah, it's been a good ride. Let's move on. Let's
find something else.
I think it's going to be the video game adaptation era is coming. I think with Super Mario Brothers
and Sonic's been a few hits with Sonic.
I think we'll start seeing that. I think if Apple was smart, they'd buy Nintendo.
Yeah.
And then they would start making the Nintendo movies. Let's stay away from the Marvel stuff. Don't buy Marvel. Buy Nintendo and start making the adaptation movies.
Yeah, the Prisoner of Zelda is there's already rumors about that movie coming out too, or about them making that movie. So
yeah, how are they going to make a story?
Yeah.
In now day and age about going and saving a damsel in distress without making it about going and saving a damsel in distress.
Yeah. Let's see.
Not sure, guys. Not sure how we're gonna.
Let's see how they can screw that one up. Yeah, right. Well, any thoughts on the sad state of the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
Final thoughts for me are just that, hey guys, you had a good run. Quit tainting the legacy. That. I mean, we probably should have just stopped. Probably at Endgame, even if you wanted to come back and kind of revisit it in like 10 years or something, I don't know. It didn't feel right to just keep pumping them out.
Yeah, pumping them out
after Endgame. Like, it was a really good setup and finish. You know, we maybe should just called it the day, right? I don't know. That's my thought. So go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I 2008 to now, I don't even know how many movies. It's something crazy. It's like 23 or 24 movies or something like that. It's like they've been pumping these out for like Fast and Furious, and there's always the decline in quality when you're pumping it out.
Mm-hmm.
If everybody just kind of slowed down and was like, let's focus on this and make this good, as good as we can. Not this half-ass. It feels, all of it feels half-ass. That's what it's all like, we got to get it out as quickly as possible. We've got to get the people who aren't competent to make it, you know. But again, as they always say, if movies were easy to make, everybody'd be making them. So
yeah, it's easy to be armchair
quarterback
professionals. So
yeah, but I'm kind of bummed about it, because there were a lot of good movies, and I I started sharing them with my kids. I started sharing them with my kids right when the decline started happening, and then they just got disinterested. And my kids are like, It's like,
yep.
I guess that says a lot about that, right? Maybe if the quality was better, they'd be more interested. Who knows?
Right.
We are on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Just look for The Sword in the Skull.
On X, used to be Twitter, formerly known as Twitter, at Brothers V Random.
We'll call that good, brother. Keep reading, keep listening, keep watching, learn more. Have a good one.
See ya.